completely different. So this is the host code, just in case you happen to miss it. I'm going to move these couple other little things out of the way. And let's get started. All right, let me move this back and forth and hopefully, oops. Thank you guys to everybody for all the shares and everything. I totally appreciate that. So thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, look, this one is even still tacky, even though, do you remember this one? This was the other nightmare card that I made. Where's that other one? Because that one was at least dry. It'll give us something to use the paper for. This one was definitely drier. This, I think I'm going to have to throw away because it's still sticky. So this is going to be our mask. We're going to make our own mask. So one thing I'm going to do is trim this down. And I'm going to trim it to 4 by 5 1/4. I think that is about right. Let me see. So what I want, so I'm just going to tell you just a couple things. I do want a thick Whisper White base, and I believe I have one already. Yep, this one was in there. So we're going to use this. This is thick white, Whisper White, one of the two. I just want to make sure it's at 5 1/4. All right, so this is already ready to be our base. So we have this here. I think I must have scored this the wrong way because it feels a little weird. But anyway, this is our base. So the nice part about this is this has lots of colors that coordinate with it. Kind of just depends on what you want to do. This was nice. We have Bermuda Bay. We have Blushing Bride. I'm pretty sure that this is also Bermuda Bay. You probably could pull in Coastal Cabana. You could do Real Red. I don't know how Real Red would look with this specific technique, but what you can do is just look at your paper and kind of see. Yellow would be great if you did Daffodil Delight. That would be another really fun one. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to use Coastal Cabana, but then I'm going to accent it with Bermuda Bay. Okay, so I'm going to grab Bermuda Bay to be my back layer. So let me just pull a piece that's, let's see what this one is. That one might be okay. And I do realize now that I'm probably going to have to trim this down just a smidge. So this is going to be 5 1/4 by 4. All right, so this piece will go on here. Just like so. And if you want it to be a more of a narrow border, I think it would look really cool as well. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do. Let's see what this looks like, the backside. You know what? I might, just to save on paper, because I can. I think you shouldn't see too much of that. We'll see. I'm going to try it. I'm going to cut this down to 3 3/4 by 5. So I'm going in 1/4 inch, and I'm going to trim down my little layering piece as well. So, and the only reason I'm going to do that is that way it lines up exactly. And if this looks horrible, we can always use another piece of white. All right, so this is going to be our mask layer, and we're going to mask onto this, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully this will make sense for you. So I am going to take my 3/4 inch circle punch. I think an inch would be a little bit big, so that's kind of why I went with this one. So you don't really have to do too many circles, because you could technically just move this around, and you're probably not going to be able to get your circles all the way in the center unless you decide to do a die cut. That looks good for now. So we can always work with this need be, okay? Also, for the sake of maybe having a smooth finish, I'm going to try it with a blender brush. You could probably use a sponge dauber, although sometimes I find that those will give you a really heavy circle imprint. So let's try one with the blending brush, and we can always do a second one with the sponge dauber just to see the difference. I'm going to put my silicone mat down, and then the only other thing I'm going to do is I have just some scrap pieces here of Post-it tape. So I'm just going to tape just the edge to keep these pieces together, just so they're lined up, because you're not going to really, you can move it around, but we'll kind of start with this and see what it looks like. So I did say I was going to go with Coastal Cabana, so it wouldn't be too dark. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that on the side. And ink up my blending brush. Let's see what that looks like. It looks pretty good. And I'm just going to fill in my circle. They don't really have to be the same darkness. So if you want to start over with like a lighter and a darker one, do whatever you want to do. I'm just going to bring it a little bit more. I am kind of pressing down because when these pop up, they do lift off a little bit of the circle. So that's going to be our beginning start spot. And let's see, I'm going to put one more circle. I'm going to take this off just so I can hold it. I'm going to put one more circle kind of over here. Let's do one kind of half off. The only thing you have to be careful is you don't want to go over. I got a little line of ink here. So just kind of try to be careful so you don't go over the edge with your line. So you might want to use a circle that's not really next to the edge of your paper. Do that one. One over here. Maybe one over here. See, I have another line right here too. So it's kind of a learning curve. You just give yourself a little bit of forgiveness for the first one you do. This is the first one I've done. I'm going to do one more little, just a little partial circle. Okay, so there is that. Then what I'm going to do, so you could use this over again. You probably want to try to use, either wait till it dries or use a similar color. So I'm just going to set this on the side for a minute. Okay. And now I'm going to grab, where is it? My Snailed It. And I want to grab this big rectangle postage stamp. And what did we decide we wanted to do? Let me take a look at the paper and see if there's one that's over here that's still large enough to cut out. Because I know some of them have really big snails. Like this guy, he is going to be over here. And that's going to kind of be cut off a little bit. But I could do this one. Even though a little teeny bit of the eyeball is cut off, I'm going to go ahead and die cut this one. So I'm just going to use just that piece of paper. So I'm going to do two at once. So I'm going to cut this little dude or dudette out. I'm going to cut out a piece of white. And then the only other thing I need is something for the sentiment. Let me just scoot these over. And I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. So I'm going to grab a piece of, this feels pretty thick white. And I'm going to die cut this square. I'm just going to try to save paper. I'm going to line this up to the end, so I can hopefully use this for more than one thing. So I'm going to die cut both of these at the same time. And now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm kind of doing like a little combo of two of the cards. The other one's going to be a little bit different. So I'm just lining these up just to die cut them. Just like so. I'm going to just run this through my Big Shot. Okay. So here is my punch, or not punch, my die cut, the postage die cut. And here, even though a little teeny bit of it's going to be cut off, it's okay. Here is the snail. And then we have to think of one more thing we want to do with this sentiment-wise. So I think what I'm going to do is I really like the, I don't know if I have them over here. I might have to just grab them really quickly. Yep, let me just grab them really quick. Oh my heavens. Well, the one I wanted, I don't know where it is. Maybe I took it downstairs. So I'm going to use this instead. This is actually from the Painted Poppies. I'm going to use this little sentiment. We'll use that for our words. And the only other thing I need is, oops, and I can just use this piece here. Where did it get to? That one, this. We're going to stamp our sentiment. And how about I'm so very happy for you. That's kind of nice because it doesn't say I. You know, sometimes you feel like you get a stamp set and some of the wordings, you almost kind of wish you could change just a little bit. This is nice because it doesn't say like I or we. It's just so very happy for you. Now, just to bring in, and this should fit okay in this. I'm going to bring in the Bermuda Bay ink for this just so it's a little bit darker. This should fit right here since that's a new stamp set. Oh, I love the font on this. Scripty and pretty. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing again. Just going to put my Post-it tape just to hold that in place. Die cut this really quickly. So while I am die cutting, how is everybody's weather? We have finally hit some consistent spring here in Maryland, which is super. The kids are 100% thrilled, which is awesome. We finally are able to remove our masks when we're outside at school again, which is so fabulous. You would have thought these kids got like $1 million. They were so happy. It was, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about how it felt. It was something, that's for sure. So the nice part about this is when I have these two little flubs here, if I wanted to, I could kind of turn this around this way and then my little postage thing could almost cover them up, but they're not really that worrisome. And I kind of like the way I have the flow of the dots. So we're going to put this over here instead. And then we'll pop this somehow like that. I am going to, since I have it here, I'm just going to hit the edges of this with my blending brush, just kind of whatever ink is left on there, nothing extra special. Just to bring out a little bit of something since there's a lot of white on white on white. And then, let me close this up. I'm going to go ahead and do this with liquid glue, my favorite. As a matter of fact, in case you don't have a Tipsy, I did see that Lisa from Crafter Solutions said that she is going to be closing her shop from June 2nd to, I can't remember exactly what time. Basically, so she can spend some time with Dom and have some summer fun with her son, and they're still mourning the loss of John. So I ordered today something. I can't remember what I ordered, which is kind of sad because you would think you would at least remember what you ordered. But I scrolled through and I had so many things to pick. So I picked something and I thought I would save the other thing for another time. But if you are interested in getting yourself a Tipsy or anything else, she is taking orders, so she has enough time to fill them, and then they will reopen again, probably after a little bit of a summer break, because she is also a teacher, so I'm sure she definitely could use a break. So let's see. We're going to put this kind of... One other thing I want to mention. If you think this is too big, you can always cut this down. So I should have told you this already. So this die obviously fits in here. Now it's upside down, so it's not going to go in exactly the way it's supposed to, but it fits in here. But say you wanted something a little bit smaller. The only thing you have to do is you'll pick your kind of size and line it up where you want. I think it goes this way. And then what you can do is you can slide it down like a couple notches and recut it, and then you could trim off some of the length, but it will still be stitched at the bottom. So what you do is another partial die cut. So you're going to just line your plate up so it cuts just this part, not the whole thing. So just in case you've never done that before, it can give you more sizes with the same dies that you already have. So just to put that out there. So I think I'm going to put the snail, and then we'll pop this right here. So I'm going to pop the snail up for sure. And before I finish the snail, I'm just going to add, does this have any in it? Nope. Might be empty. I might have to grab a different one, so avert your eyes. Just going to grab a little shimmer pen and just put a little bit of shimmer onto the snail. You could even really take this another notch and add some googly eyes if you wanted to, which would be really, really cute. So I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. I'm like racking my brain trying to think what I ordered. And it's kind of sad that I can't even remember what I ordered. It was something that I've been meaning to order for a while. And, oh, I know what it was. She has magnetic bowls for your dies. I ordered one of those. So let's just take a peek. Would I rather have this over here? No, I think I'm going to do it over there. I'm going to just, I didn't really fully press this down yet. So we're kind of go like that, like this. And then this one I'm going to just glue. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue here on the bottom. Kind of decide where I want it. Just like so. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to add some additional glue to the back of this. You could do dimensionals too if you wanted. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. This will be kind of a cool moving card with the snail with the packages on the back. Be a great birthday card. Congratulations. But really, quite simple because you could use this over and over. You could do this with any color. You could do it with red. You could do it with yellow. Like I said, that will be really fun. So basically, you want to kind of have, it's nice to have the two shades. So that's why I did the Coastal Cabana and the Bermuda Bay. This would also be equally as good if you did Highland Heather and Grape. Or either Grape and Blackberry Bliss would be really nice. You're doing pinks, greens, whichever. So that is one card. So this I will kind of hang on to. That way I can use it for something else. And then the other card that I wanted to make is just kind of a simple card. So this one we actually have to choose. I just want to put this in here so I don't lose it, which is why I ordered that bowl that I now remembered. That's why I ordered it. So this one we are going to need some DSP. So this kind of depends on how busy you want your card to be. So just for my whole little thing, this was the little snail you can see down there, and it had the dots that were masked. So that was one. Okay. The color to match. So you have thick white base, a color that matches the ink, or it could be one that complements the ink behind there. And then you have your white layer. You have your little postage, you have your snail or whatever else you want, and then your sentiment, depending on how big you want. So that was just another simple one. And my other one, which we're going to do now, is this one here. So again, we're going to do, this is going to be a white piece on the bottom, a DSP piece on the top, and then the base card is going to be a color that matches the DSP. We're going to put a little ribbon, sentiment on the bottom. Really, really simple. So same thing again, where you could do this for virtually any designer series or pattern paper that you have, because all you're doing is coordinating into it and adding a sentiment. So very, very easy. So I really like this snail set. I know this probably was done, I don't want to say to death, but it's so cute. And it's really, really fun. And something about the color choices they picked out for this were really, really awesome, in my opinion. So I like this paper. This one to me is kind of like a great complimentary piece, but not really as super. I also love the mushrooms because they're super cute and whimsical. I do like the snails, but since we did this, we're going to do something that's a little bit more busy. So I think I have one other piece here that's a full sheet still. So we have two of this. I think we're gonna use one of these, and then we'll pick our complementary color. And then I still think I'm gonna stick with a different stamp set. So you could use the Snailed It if you wanted to. It just kind of depends on your choice of what you want to do. I'm gonna grab my paper trimmer and trim this down. So I'm thinking with this one, we could either do this on red, since it doesn't have a lot of red, or I think this is crushed curry. Let me just take a peek and see. Doesn't say. No, it says Daffodil Delight. I wonder if I don't think I use a lot of Daffodil Delight. Oh, I do. Look at that. I have a brand new fresh pack, probably because I don't use it very much. So we could do Daffodil Delight or red. What do you guys think? I think Daffodil will be really cute. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. So it's going to be 4, and it doesn't really need to be 5 1/4 because we're only going to use part of it. So let me see what this measures for. Let me trim this down just a smidge in case everybody agrees with the daffodil. And I'm going to score this in half at 5 1/2. So just your regular tall skinny base. So just like that. We're probably going to have about 1.5 inches of white at the bottom, just kind of depending. All right, I see 2 Daffodil Delights. Perfect, you won. Thank you for playing. You could even use this piece on the inside if you wanted to, or the other little leftover piece. So I am going to cut my white panel just a little bit bigger. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I kind of want something to be able to anchor it to underneath. So I'm going to cut this just to be on the safe side at 2. And this is just that little scrap piece that we were using earlier. And again, I'm going to cut it down to 4 because we do want a little layer. So this one is 2 by 4. And the reason being is, again, because I want enough of it to be able to stick that we anchor this together. So we probably need, what are we going to say what that is about? Maybe 4, I'll say 4 1/2. We'll go with 4 1/2. We can always trim it if we need to. So we have 4 1/2 by 4. Let's see what that looks like if we're going to line that up. And this piece, I think I might need to take off a little bit more. I'm going to take it down to 4 1/4. So 4 1/4 is what I'm deciding on by 4. And then this piece is still going to stay the same, 2 by 4, just because I want to have enough to be able to attach it and to attach some ribbon if we're going to end up going that route. I'm not 100% sure yet. So that is the base. All right. And then we have our sentiment, which we're going to stamp down here at the bottom. Now, we certainly could use red to kind of bring that out for this, which I think will be fun. So let's go with that. And we want something that's a little bit slim to kind of be at the bottom. So Here For You Now would fit there, because there are a lot of snails, and it could be something that's a cheery card. This, I guess, would just depend on how you feel about sending certain sentiments, but I'm going to go with that. And then I'm going to add the other part on the inside. So Here For You Now is going to be down here near the bottom. And I'm going to just pick this up with a stamp, and I am going to ink this and stamp it once because I've never used this stamp set before. So Here For You Now. And I'm going to try to get it kind of down here in the bottom right. Again, just preference of where you want to put it. Okay. All right, so there's that. While I'm at it, I have another piece. Let me see if this needs to be trimmed. I'm sure it probably does, because I've been cutting my pieces just a little big. Okay. I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to go ahead and stamp the inside panel. That way all we have to do is add it. And the other one I wanted was, and in Better Days Ahead. Oops, a little too small. Let's try this one. And I'm going to just kind of center this. Looks good. All right, so one final thing. I'm going to look and see, is there anything that would be nice to add to this? We do have the words, but I'm just going to add this little heart because that's kind of just good enough. You could do a little fanciness with it, but I'm going to make it simple and just add a heart. Just like so. So nothing extravagant, but it looks really nice, simple. Sometimes I do go a little overboard. So this is our inside. I'm going to make sure I let that dry. This piece is going to go here. We're going to end up gluing this together. So I kind of just have to eyeball where about I want it. So I make sure that I cover enough, because we are going to add a little bit of ribbon here. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy, but I want to add something that kind of ties together. I feel like, and quote me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, not quote me. We have 2 red ribbons, which I believe are still available, if I'm not mistaken. This is the Real Red sheer ribbon, I believe it is. Yes, sheer ribbon. So you could do that. Or we also, I think this one is still one that is available, the Real Red double stitched satin ribbon. This one has a little bit more oomph to it. I think I'm going to use this one. Hopefully we still have it. We could still use it. I hate saying that, but I feel like I don't keep up with the ribbon as well as I should. So I'm going to put this over here for a moment. And what we're going to do is we're going to, hold on. Let me back up one step here, because I want to find out where exactly I want this to kind of line these up super nicely. I'm going to put just the tiniest pencil mark. So I'm just kind of layering this onto my paper here and seeing where my borders are. So I have an even border around the bottom. And now I'm going to put, where is my pencil? I know there are 15 different ones. Here's one. I'm just going to put a really light pencil mark here. That way I know where to glue this before I put the ribbon on. That's what I'm getting at. Because I don't want to glue it down, because then I won't be able to cover it with the ribbon. So one more. Lordy, I lost my... Oh well, can't find it. Here it is. Blends in with my table, off my silicone mat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some liquid glue. Not a lot, because you don't want it to goosh out all over the place. So I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue, and I'm going to try my best to line this up with that line, but even more so I'm covering it. So just making sure it's straight. And then I'm going to layer it on here just to see. Looks pretty good. Okay, then I'm going to take my ribbon and I'm going to flip this over. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of the Stampin' Seal Plus, and I can see kind of the line where my papers are meeting, so I'm just putting it right on the edge there. So a little piece here and a little piece here. And I'm going to take this, just set it. You don't want to pull it too tight, because it actually can bend your cardstock and then it will look all wonky. So I'm going to set it just like so. So I have it where I want it. I'm going to take my snips and just trim my ribbon. And then smooth this down without pulling it too tight, and just gently press. So there's that. So one other thing I saw that I thought was a really cute idea that I don't think I've ever done. So I'm going to grab, if I can find it now, a piece. This is probably not the correct packaging that it comes in, but your twine. So this was a cute idea. If I can find the end here. There we go. So they took a piece of twine. Doesn't have to be huge, so I'm just kind of oversizing here. And tie a bow. And you could do this with 2 if you wanted it to be a little bit more. Oh my. Fingers don't want to work today. Tie a little bow. You don't want it to be too tight, although it is going to kind of cover up that edge of the paper there, and I'll tell you another way you can fix it. I'm going to tie a little bow. Oh, I did it half backwards. That's okay. Okay, I'm gonna... Oh, that's not good. Things are falling from the sky in the craft room. All right, so I'm just going to make sure this is tight, and it's a little bit too big on the bow part, so I'm just kind of trying to narrow it. So there's that. I'm going to snip these little ends. And then if you are really concerned, which I typically don't get too concerned with this, if you wanted a little bit thicker, the twine that we have, that's probably not the current, is a little bit thicker than this, so it's going to be a little bit fatter of a bow. But if you're worried about this moving, you can also put a little mini glue dot under here just to hold it in place, but I'm going to leave it as is. Then you could do one of two things. You could either liquid glue this or you could use dimensionals. I'm just going to use liquid glue, and I'm going to make sure that I put enough at the seam here and also put some onto the ribbon. So I want to get the edge. Definitely always want to make sure you get the edges. That's probably one of the most important things. And one other thing I forgot to do, I just want to verify. I just want to make sure this is creased correctly because I felt like it was a teeny bit crooked. Okay, and that looks good. And pop this down. So remember, you have liquid glue, so you do, the good part about that is you do have the ability to wiggle it around if you didn't line it up exactly how you wanted it, which is why I love liquid glue. One of my favorite things about it. And I feel confident that this should be dry, that if I press, yeah. So if you felt like this is going to wiggle a little bit and it might get on your nerves or it might move, you could put just two, you could put one on each side, mini glue dot underneath just to put it in. And then we're just going to add this inside. So this was like a kind of a nice combo, only because that stamp set, just the sentiment really kind of pairs well with the snail set, which honestly, I had not planned that. This is not the words I was going to use whatsoever, but here for you now. So all these people here for you, which I think is it's so sweet. Really, really cute card. And these are probably two that maybe you think this is like a kid or kind of juvenile, because I could totally see that it goes that way. And maybe that is why a lot of people don't necessarily want to get this kind of a stamp set, because you're like, well, you know, it's kind of kiddie and, you know, people might not like it. But I think these kind of things, to me, I like things like these because it reminds me of being a kid. So it makes it very fun. So one final thing I said, and I know I told you this before, if you wanted to add just a little something, now the way it cut this dotted line might be a little bit awkward that you want to add this to like the inside, but you could. Like a little line there. You could even just do your little line of snails, or maybe put a little piece down at the bottom or something. Sometimes just adding a little something that goes from the outside to the inside, it kind of brings the whole card together. You could also go with a piece that's much more neutral for this from that collection of DSP as well. It just kind of depends on where you want to go with it. So I am going to just check through, make sure there weren't any questions or anything. I think they're really cute. I don't think I could fit in a third card before we finish it today, but I really, really love this. I think this is super fun, super, super cute as well. I'm just going to check and make sure there's no other questions. Thank you, everybody who joined me. I really do appreciate it. And the red ribbon with the white stitching from the Playful Pet. Oh, that's a good one too. That's a great one. That would have been, only thing about it is it would be probably a little bit thin. But that would have looked, you could have even added that as the tie around part. And maybe that is what you meant. That would have been adorable, because you could have just done like a little, hold on, let's just do this together and see what it looks like. Let's just add a little extra. See, this is why I like crafting with friends, because they have ideas. You could just add a little, you could have your little bow and your little, I'm going to leave that on there. Hold on. I'm just going to trim this up significantly. You could add a little something, because who says you have to stop with just 2 ribbons? I mean, my goodness, we could add ribbon to this all day. Lord knows I have it. And if you still have, this is another one that is retired, but if you still have it, this would be a great one. Only thing is, it is cherry cobbler, so it doesn't exactly match the red, but this was the double stitched ribbon, which had the stitches on one side and then the double running lines on the other side. That one would be a great one. It is a little bit darker, but I think if you're going from this, you could either change to cherry cobbler ink. You really wouldn't notice the difference with that, but that's another great one. And as a matter of fact, if you were going with red as your base, the Daffodil Delight, you could have done that with a contrast as well. So both of those, I really liked these ribbons, obviously. I just still have plenty of them left, but both of those would work really well also. So that's just a couple other tips for you there from our viewing friends. So thank you so much for mentioning that. That one, the pet one, I do sometimes forget about, but that one, I think I use the Flowers for All Seasons I think I use those ribbons like the most for everything, because that white ribbon is just absolutely amazing, which is wonderful. So if you have any questions or anything, feel free to shoot me an email. You can always send me a message here on Facebook, although I will tell you, sometimes I don't get the messages quite as quickly, so please don't think I'm ignoring you. It's weird because when I got on here, even though I've checked it several times today, right before we started, it said I had 2 messages. So I was like, wait, I didn't realize I had 2 messages. One other thing with this, you could do this with so many different colors. So you could make another card, and you could see some of our circles pop in there, but you could rotate this around. You could do this with different colors. You could go with Pool Party if you wanted to, Daffodil Delight. You could go with pink and red. So you could do like your pink as the back, the dots, and then red as your backing. So lots of different options for this as well. And then once I get my other card, which I do want to make one with the berry stamp set as my sample, I'm going to do the other card that I shared with you. So I'll just show you again, just in case you missed that sketch in the beginning. This one was actually done with the blueberries, but it kind of has like a swoop up. And then the card stock in the back, the base card is a color. And then it just has this white layer. And then it just goes on the nicest dark. It was such a beautiful card. And it was so, so simple. So I will actually recreate the blueberry version. And then we will make we'll do 2 cards with the color and contour. But again, I don't exactly know what time it's going to be on Thursday. That's the only thing, because I have to pop over and do some lacrosse pictures. So it just kind of depends on how that ends. So I do apologize. I know that's kind of a crappy thing to say, like, I think I'll be here, but I don't know what time. So if I find out a more specific time, or if it's definitely going to be my regular time, I will update you Thursday as soon as I know. But thank you guys so much, as always, for joining me. I hope you had as much fun watching this as I did making it, because it is always much better crafting with friends. So thank you so much. You need to stop watching me. You just got off. You know what? That's funny that you say that, Sherry, because I had to get my credit card expired. So I'm waiting for a new one to come. And I can't order anything right now. And I need to order I need to order 3 different things. But I usually use my Stampin' Up! Credit card for this.